Welcome to Storytime at the Rubus, a weekly podcast about the Bonnaroo Music and Arts Festival. I'm your host, Sharla.
And I'm Daniel.
What have you been up to, Daniel?
Well, we are recording this on Sunday afternoon, and I just ran 5 miles, and I regret going that far, but I feel like I need to because Bonnaroo is just 2 months away now.
Oh my goodness, are you getting ready to roo?
I think so. I'm trying to get in good shape, so by the time a lot of people hear this, it's going to be almost exactly 2 months away. So we're recording this on Sunday the 9th. So when it comes around to the 13th, it'll be exactly 2 months until a lot of us are on the farm that Tuesday.
There was a joke going around this week that it was exactly 69 days until Bonnaroo.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah. It's funny, after we pass the 100-day mark every year, it feels like that next 100 days just rushes through.
It flies by. So, as we said on last week's episode, start buying your stuff now. If you haven't, you're behind on buying your stuff.
Have you started to get some of our stuff?
No.
You haven't? You got to start doing as you say.
Well, we've been going since 2013.
Yeah.
So, I feel like we have a lot of stuff already. We just don't have the non-perishables and the food and things like that.
You got to start on that.
We got to start on it.
You've been telling everybody else too.
I know.
You know, you mentioned that just now. I wanted to talk about that just for a second. This will be the 10-year anniversary for a ton of people.
Right?
I know a lot of regular Roovians started going in 2013 because, you know, McCartney played that year and a lot of us ran out of excuses to not go anymore. And so many of us have been going every year or almost every year ever since. I got a note from Celia some months ago. She thought it was a good idea to get a panel together of people that started going in 2013. I think I want to do that before we get to Roo this year. So if you did also start going in 2013 and this is your 10-year anniversary, hit us up. I think I'm going to put together a big panel here in the next month or two of people that have been going for this past decade. And we can talk about things that have changed, you know, for the worse or for better.
Look, I'm just going to say it's my 10th year.
Well, it is, even though we missed 2 years.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
Those 2 years were years that we missed outside of our control, so they still count.
I'm not even talking about those. We don't speak of that.
Yeah.
Nobody speaks of that.
Those 2 years kind of sort of count because I feel like a lot of people also still had Roo in different ways. We had our mini Roo and a lot of people had backyard Roos. You know, that's something interesting that I want to come to in just a moment, so hold that thought. Charlotte, before we jump into everything, how's everything coming with the bus? I know you and Brooklyn have been working a lot this past week.
Right, so I do have some updates about the bus. So I was able to get the legs of the seat undone, and Brooklyn was able to get the rest of it undone.
Yeah,
so
she worked her tail
together
off
on that, and we were able to get it completely out of the bus, and we threw it into a pile outside in our yard, and it is completely out. The one seat is completely out. I think that Daniel and I collaboratively decided that we are going to keep one seat in the bus because people do tend to use that seat as kind of a handrail, and it's going to stop people from really like falling down the stairs and anything crazy like that.
I was afraid that somebody would be a little tipsy or on some Bud Light or something and would like, you know, just kind of take a step backwards and fall into the well over there. I don't want that to happen.
No. So the next thing is just putting the couch in there.
So is that our project this week or next?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to take that damn thing apart to put up in there.
Oh, my goodness.
It's going to be a little tricky. She's talking about this futon that she has in her little office room in our house. And that was difficult for me to put together for you. So that might be a project over a couple of days. I'm just going to give you a warning.
Oh, yeah. We'll get it. So we have a big announcement this week.
Yes. So like last year, we have been working with the good people over at the office putting together Bonnaroo. And they are giving us 2 general admission tickets to give away to go to Bonnaroo this year.
Yes, So what we want you guys to do is very similar to last year. You guys are going to send us an audio recording to therealroobus@gmail.com.
So we're changing it up a little bit this year. We still want you to send us an audio recording. You can use like the Voice Memos app on your iPhone or whatever. What's the Android equivalent? There's some version of that. So you can save the file, and we want you to send it to the Gmail address that Charlotte just gave you. But here's what we're going to change a little bit. This year, we want you to tell us your favorite story about how you made some lifelong friends or formed your own little community out of Bonnaroo. So for us, we have a great little circle of friends that we meet up with at our mini Roo site. There's so many to name. I don't want to name people because we'll leave somebody out. But I talked a moment ago, in those 2 years when we didn't go, a lot of people had backyard Bonnaroos or put together little mini Bonnaroos. Maybe you've done some other things like that. but it's all from meeting friends at Bonnaroo. So we want to hear stories about that. And one other thing, this isn't part of the official rules, but I'm going to request something of you. If you already have your tickets and you win them, I want you to invite somebody that you feel deserves to go with those extra tickets that you're going to win, right? So again, what is that Gmail address, Sharla?
therealroobus@gmail.com.
Yeah, and we're going to put something on our website. Can we add that to the link tree, actually?
Sure.
Yeah, we'll do that with kind of more instructions and everything. We want you to send us your audio submissions by the end of April, and what we're going to do is very similar to last year. Charlotte and I will go through it, and this will be very difficult. You know this from last year. We will pick our 4 favorites, and then we will put the top 4 on Twitter for the community to decide. And the one that gets the top number of votes will get 2 GA tickets.
Yes.
Right? And again, if you already have your tickets, we request that you bring somebody along. That's not an official rule, but it's Sharla and Daniel's request. Yes. So that pretty much covers it. All right, so that's the giveaway for this month. So be thinking about your story that you can send along to us, and we'll do an episode where everybody can hear the top 4, and we'll put it up to a vote on Twitter. Sound good?
Sounds great.
And thanks again to Corey and the crew from Bonnaroo for sending those along for us to give away. It's really fun. It's fun for us because we get to hear these stories, right? We talk a lot to people like online on Twitter and stuff, but actually hearing these that are really creative. In fact, we got some last year that had like music and stuff added into it. So, you know, I will say this, when we pick our top 4, we're looking for heartwarming stories. So it's a cool touch if you edit in some music and stuff, but we're not necessarily going to judge it on that, right?
Right. The top 4 that we picked last year, we picked them because they were the most heartwarming and the most heartfelt stories.
Yeah, stories that mean something.
Right.
You don't necessarily have to be the best writer or the best storyteller in the world or the best public speaker, but if you're able to get across your ideas, that's what matters, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So again, one more time, the email address?
therealroobus@gmail.com.
Yeah. Send it to us by the end of April, and you will be entered for those 2 tickets to Bonnaroo. Now, Charlotte, here in a little bit, I'm going to tease up what we are talking about this week. Me and Charlotte poured through all of the stuff that was in the Outeroo announcement this past week. And one thing that I wish Bonnaroo had done or somebody had done was give it a little description about what all of those names are in the arts and experiences thing. Because there was a lot of stuff that we didn't know what it was.
Right.
So
I saw a lot of people questioning a lot of the things in it. Like, well, what is this? What is that?
Yeah, so we did a lot of Googling, and we went in the About Us section of like all their websites, and we're going to tell you about what each of those are. So that's the meat and potatoes this week's episode. But we did want to talk a little bit about a couple of things before we dig into it. There is some stuff out of Tennessee this week that we just can't ignore that kind of sort of affects Bonnaroo's home state a little bit,
Oh, my
right?
goodness, yes.
All right, so what do we get in first? Do we want to talk about the more positive thing or the negative thing that we need to get out of the way?
Let's get the negative out of the way first.
All right, Charlotte, I'm going to turn to you again as the person who has more legal experience than me when it comes to the Tennessee 3. So can you give me the TLDR on what happened with that this week?
So there were 3 lawmakers, 2 black men and 1 white woman, and they were protesting the gun laws, you know, and 2 of them, the 2 black men, got expelled from their positions, and the woman survived by 1 vote.
Wow.
So they became known as the Tennessee 3. And it's just, democracy is unfolding in Tennessee. The death of democracy.
What was somebody joking about on Reddit this past week? They were like, what could I see in Nashville on
Yeah,
the way
someone
to Bonnaroo?
posted on Reddit, on the Bonnaroo Reddit, they said, oh, what's good to do or see in Nashville when I'm on my way to Bonnaroo? And someone, the top reply said, the death of democracy.
I mean, that's funny. It's sad and funny at the
Yes,
same time.
Very sad, but
This doesn't have that big of a Roo connection, but
No,
it's hard
but
to
it's-
ignore this when it's happening in Bonnaroo's home state where democracy is just unraveling like this. And I'm going out of my way to not take sides with this. I don't want it to be like a left or right kind of thing. This is something that everybody should be concerned about, no matter what side you're on. Let me put it this way. When we have Bonnaroo, the whole campground becomes one of Tennessee's largest cities
yes.
for the better part of a week. What happened this past week were representatives from other large towns in Tennessee being stripped of their titles, and people who had voted them in having their voice taken away. Now, they're going to have them back because they're going to have special elections, and it's very likely that those same two guys are going to be back. But a lot of people from Tennessee were very concerned this past week, and this could, way down the line, years from now, affect how Bonnaroo comes together. If representatives are being taken away, then it kind of redistributes power in Tennessee. And I think it's something that we have to keep an eye on. This has become a new political tactic where areas that are outspoken are stripped of power. And let's just call it as we see it. This has shades of fascism.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's hard for it not to be defined that way. So I do think it's worth keeping an eye on in Bonnaroo's home state, because this could really affect things in the future. Certainly not this year. We already talked last week about how the drag ban has been, what's the term where the judge kind of stripped it?
Well, it's held up right now in the federal courts.
Yeah, I forget the legal term, but again, we don't really have to worry about it this year, as it's going to, ping pong back and forth in those federal courts. But I do think that we need to keep this in mind and keep an eye on the news. And, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we did that history podcast. Our predecessors were very involved in the 60s in California and stuff when it came to these kind of social issues. So I don't think it's out of line for us and our community to keep an eye on this and be involved when necessary. Did you have anything else on that, Sharla?
No, I think we should move to something a little bit more positive and fun.
Okay, well, cool. There was something fun that came up on Reddit this past week that is taking action in a really fun and creative way. So Reddit user Topographics posted on the Bonnaroo Reddit this past week saying that we should have kind of a fun drag protest at Bonnaroo.
Yes, a few people have said that.
Yeah, I think a number of people have said that, but he brought it to the community on the Reddit and everything, and I kind of talked with him a little bit, saying like, hey, I kind of think that Thursday would be the time to do it, because Big Frida is having a pride parade, and a lot of the media that's local around the Nashville area will be there filing a report.
Right.
So it's something that could make for great visuals.
Right.
So I feel like this would be a really fun way to stick it to the man at Bonnaroo this year for people who haven't done this before, who want to be supportive of the whole LGBT community that has been targeted in Tennessee, to go look fabulous and take it to the Pride Parade.
Right.
Right? So we'll talk more about this in the future. I want to get some more people on who are going to be involved with this kind of thing to speak to it a little bit. But I told everybody, like, hey, I want to push this on our stuff. So be thinking ahead. This is something really fun. If you've never done that kind of thing before, you kind of become a different character for a night or whatever. But this is a great way to support our brothers and sisters in Tennessee who have been picked on lately, and I'm not very happy about that. I don't like bullies. So plan on that. Find something fabulous to wear. Find somebody that can help you look really good with some makeup or something like that. Thursday night, we'll figure out the time once they announce the schedule and we know when Big Frida's Pride Parade is going to be. That's going to go down, right?
Yes. Is her Pride Parade on Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay.
They announced that as part of the Outeroo thing this past week.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's going to be a great fun thing. So more information on that as we move forward. So we're going to get to talking about that Outeroo announcement in just a moment. But Charlotte, before we take a break and do that, can we thank our Patreons?
Yes, absolutely.
So everybody knows the deal. Let's go through the names first.
Okay, we've got Skylar, Dan Raymer, Shawnaroo, Ernst, Jordan, Bill, Harris, Brian, Keith, Casey, Chloe Rose, Andrew, Amanda, Aaron, Nick, Maddie, Sean, McFerg, Bruce, John, Kent, Michael, Randy, Josh, Madison, Scott, Greg, Eric and Ben, Kristen, Natalie, Beyond the Hypnotic,
And it's Chase.
Evan, Jay, Chloe, and Sean.
Yeah, the list just keeps on growing. Thank you so much, guys. If you want to be a part of it, it is at patreon.com/Rubus. And Patreons, I'm talking specifically to you right now. We're going to have a call on Tuesday because I want to start finalizing what we're going to spend that 20% on.
Yes.
If you're listening to our podcast, you know this by now, 80% of everything that we're going to collect is going to go to the wonderful Bonnaroo Works Fund. But that 20% is going to fund something at our party. And I think we're going to talk to our Patreons for about a half hour or so on Tuesday night to finalize what that's going to be, because we'll be putting that money aside and ordering anything in advance that we need to. But I kind of feel from what they were talking about, we might be getting something the week before. We might be doing some grocery shopping for some orange juice and champagne, if you know what I'm talking about. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to dig into that Outeroo lineup when we come back. Charlotte, I got a question for you.
Yes.
For people that are new to Bonnaroo, can you kind of explain the concept of Outeroo and all of the plazas and all the extra stuff that's going to be happening in the campgrounds?
Okay, sure. Well, Outeroo is the campground part of Bonnaroo, whereas Centeroo is where all of the main stages are. That's the inner part of Bonnaroo. That's where you go in for the main music part. Well, Outeroo, which is what this episode is all about, that's where we have Where in the Woods. That's where we've got the Grove. That's where we got all the plazas. So some of the plazas actually have stages. They have barns. They have little tents with different activities, things of that nature. So the Outeroo lineup that came out this week has a lot of artists on it. And they're going to be playing at Where in the Woods. They're going to be playing at some of the stages in Outeroo. And then it's also got the activities, which will be held in some of the tents in Outeroo, going to be held in some of the barns in Outeroo, things like that.
Yeah, thank you. So it had a bit of a daily lineup where it showed a lot of the EDM artists and other things that are going to be playing like Thursday to Sunday. But at the bottom, there was an arts and experiences lineup. So check the Bonnaroo Reddit if you want to learn more about the different artists that are playing, like musical artists. But we wanted to dig more into the art and experience lineup. So Charlotte and I did a lot of digging this past week to look into what each of them were. So we looked up their pages on Facebook. We looked up their websites. So I think Charlotte and I are going to take turns. We're going to let you know what we found out about each of them. And I will be honest, 90% of these I didn't really know that much about. There's one in particular that I know very much about. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. But should I kick it off?
Sure.
All right. So this is in the order that it was on the arts and experiences lineup on that poster that came out last week. The first one was Alexandria Olivia Hall. She is an illustrator and muralist. She freelances from her studio in Nashville while also working on design and art direction for Two Tides Brewing Company. So she does a lot of cool stuff like that. I suspect that she's going to be one of the artists they brought in to do like maybe murals on the outer wall of Outeroo.
That'll be cool.
Maybe somewhere inside. I bet you one of these is going to be one of the artists doing the stuff on something like the fountain, for example. It doesn't say that. We don't know that, but I suspect that we'll find out here in the next 2 months.
Okay, so the next one is Brett Douglas Hunter. And this is actually the person who does the sculptures in the Grove.
Those are so trippy and fun.
Those are so cool.
Those are the ones that people kind of climb on top of.
Well, he is a self-taught artist, and he lives and works in Nashville. And he has actually done solo exhibitions at a museum in New York. He's worked with the Future Perfect, which is also in New York. So he's had a lot of exhibitions in Nashville. He does a lot of permanent exhibitions at Creature Camp, which is in Nashville. So his art is fantastic. So when you go into the Grove and you see all those those trippy looking structures, that's his work.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to see what he's got in store this year. Charlotte, I'll take the next two since they're kind of short. We couldn't find a ton. So Calling All Crows is a group that connects music fans to feminist movements for justice and equality. So that's needed these days. Another one is Chuck McGee Breathwork. I couldn't find a ton on this guy, but apparently he does Viking breathing techniques.
Okay.
I'm excited to learn what that might
cool.
be. Yeah, exactly. Take the next one there.
Dos Jefes, or I guess I'm saying it right, Dos Jefes Garments. Dos Jefes Garments is an earth-friendly art project that aims to create new garments from old textiles. So that sounds dope AF.
Can you tell me about that? Because this is kind of your area.
Okay, well, it says each garment is cut and sewn in Detroit, and the project was started by P.J. Hermit and Sam Polam, and it's grown to include wax and Pablo. I'm sorry, I'm gonna mispronounce the last name. So to date, they have recycled over 1 ton of clothing. So it sounds like what they're doing is taking old clothing, like vintage clothing maybe, and making new garments with it.
This is right up your alley.
Yeah, so that's actually something I've kind of tinkered in the past, taking old, recycled, thrifted clothing and just making new outfits from it, sewing new clothes from it, which is super, super cool.
Mm-hmm. The next one is one that has been to Rue at least a couple of times, as far as I'm aware. It is Dub Lab Tonalism. So there are a number of areas out in Outeroo that are going to have some trippy ambient music, and they're the group that does stuff like that. Like I've heard it over at the Grove and some of the plazas.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
I think it was in, if I remember right, it was in the plaza that the Therapy Gecko was in last year.
Oh, okay, cool.
But it's some of those kind of places where you just want to kind of lay down,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even take a nap and chill out. It's the kind of music that's great for that. What's next?
Okay, here's a cool one. Ida Birthing. It says Ida is a Turkish-American designer who dresses many talented drag queens, performers, and creates narratives and creatures to influence her designs and concepts. So that sounds cool.
Yes, and actually I want to point out something since we're talking about somebody that outfits drag queens. All of the stuff in this arts and experiences lineup is really promoting a lot of inclusivity,
Right.
a lot of diversity. They did a great job to bring in something for literally everybody
Right,
this
they do
year.
such a good job on this. And, a lot of people are like, well, I just don't know if there's going to be anything for me. No, everything you want is here. Like-
Everything is here. Remember somebody told us that at Burning
Yeah.
Man. All right, there were a couple here that I couldn't really find anything on, but I wanted to shout out EO Space and Everything Forever Karaoke. I did a lot of Google food, but I couldn't necessarily find anything. So if you know anything about them, please hit us up on Twitter and we will get the word out. What's the next one there?
Grundle Head Andrew Stewart says he's a toy inventor, monster maker, freaky looking sculptures of creatures. Okay, that
Yeah.
sounds cool.
So that kind of goes along with Brett Douglas
I guess
with
so,
the
yeah.
kind of monster sculptures.
Cool.
Who knows what that's going to be? All right, the next one on the list is something that we have really cheerled a lot, a place that may be one of our favorites if we had to
yeah.
pick. It is the House of Yes.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
back. We already knew about that. For people new,
Okay.
can you explain the House of
All right.
Yes?
So the House of Yes is I don't even
best?
know where to start. The best. It is a very LGBTQIA plus friendly organization. They're based out of New York, and they have different performances throughout the evening, and in the day it's really just a chill spot, and they typically host like different parades and different activities. In the evening they will usually do a performance of, sometimes they'll play like a movie and they'll have people acting out the movie. They'll sometimes bring along a show called the Dirty Circus, and they'll be have performers doing different tricks.
Very risque tricks.
Very risque
Remember what
tricks.
Autumn told us a couple of
Yes,
weeks
oh
ago?
my goodness. They will have different dance, kind of like a dance club a little bit.
Oh, it definitely turns into a dance club a
definitely
lot.
turns into a dance club a lot.
And it's kind of the hub for the Pride parades as well.
Right. It's just kind of like a fantastic, wonderful experience.
Oh, did you notice this past week Bonnaroo posted some pictures on social media, and like there was a big picture of House of Yes that was up first. I didn't know it until 2 days after, but like our buddy Zach tagged me, and I went back and looked, and it's like me and you like walking around sticking our heads in.
Oh, yes.
On that
That's
first
what you
picture,
did
I didn't
with
even
the
see
cat, yeah.
us. That was still after the fact. All right, next up was on the poster. It said IRGAC, and I'm like, what the heck is that? I couldn't find a lot, but it is the International Groundwater Resources Assessment Center. So I'm glad that they're bringing in a lot of green-oriented organizations. I figure we'll learn more about them later. What's up next?
So the next is Lenny. Lenny is an illustrator with cute ghost characters, lots of positive messages.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a webcomic series. I'm interested to see what they're going to do at Rue. I wish they would give us more about what are these people going to do.
Right.
Look up Lenny. It's with 3 N's. Google that and you'll see kind of like the cute cartoons that they make. Next up is Luminati, not the Illuminati, just Luminati. Yeah, they are a creative outfit out of Denver. They pride themselves on telling and creating stories that deliver results and make a brand stand out. So I think they might be another org that is doing some of the art installations or something like that.
So next up we have Motherfunk.
Say that carefully.
Motherfunk. And Motherfunk is an event company that is centered around music, art, community, and play. It says one of their missions is really to activate curiosity and playfulness of each attendee while formulating a powerful community of like-minded people.
So
Sounds
that
cool.
sounds very similar to what the parachute people are doing.
Yeah, exactly.
From that brief bio. I think they may have actually done something together, if I remember right. They should, if they haven't,
Yeah,
because it sounds
that's
like they
cool.
have a similar mission statement.
All right, I'm going to take the next one and then let you take the next one.
Oh,
All right, so
okay.
the next one is Mythic Times. Mythic Times, it says to make masks is to take part in an ancient and rich human tradition. Masks provide a meaningful way for humans to connect with each other, with nature, and also the unseen realms of spirit.
Yeah, I Googled that one, and they had some really creative and trippy looking masks. I'm interested to see what they're going to do.
Okay, I'm going to let you take this next one.
Oh boy, I have had to keep a secret for about a month or two on this. There were some questions that came up after the Outeroo poster came out. It says NASA on the poster. I am here to confirm it is the NASA. NASA, like Space NASA, is going to be at Bonnaroo. I've had a couple of conversations with Rue and some of my coworkers. I have to state, this is not the department that I work in. This is a totally separate department, but I have friends over there. And I'm going to be doing a presentation for them before too long, so the volunteers and staff that's going to be working the NASA stuff know how to Rue, because the majority of them have never been there. So I've got to give them an actual work presentation. Here's what to do and here's what not to do at Bonnaroo.
So I heard that somebody else that went to Bonnaroo last year might be giving a presentation to his job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did hear about this. Yeah, but I think we should let him speak to it later. But I can give you an overview of what NASA is going to be doing at Rue. So they see it as a very good fit because there are a lot of people who are environmentally aware. So NASA is, of course, doing a lot back in space these days. Mm-hmm. We have the Artemis program going back to the moon. We have the Webb telescope looking so far out into the universe that we're looking back in time. We have a Mars rover or two that's rolling around taking pictures. There's all kind of fun things. But NASA is also interested in what's happening here at home on Earth. So making sure that we have a living, breathing planet that can remain home to all of us is very important to NASA. So that is going to be a lot of what they are talking about. They're going to be talking about a lot of Earth science. But of course, we got big rockets too. So they're going to be talking a little bit about that. More information on that is soon to come. But yes, it is the NASA. They're going to have a fairly big presence. I don't know exactly where yet, but please go check them out. They're friends of mine, and they're going to be so happy to be at Rue this year.
Somebody said, is NASA a band I've never heard of?
Well, didn't you tell me that there was a band made of astronauts once?
There is an astronaut band. Yes.
Yeah?
It's called...
Do you remember? I don't remember.
Max Q.
Oh, yeah, Max Q. Yes. Google that. That's such a nerdy
yes,
reference.
Max Q.
Okay, I can talk about that all day. Take us to the next one.
All right, the next one is Small World Yoga. And they're out of Nashville, and they really just connect people by creating community yoga or community access to yoga.
Yeah, so I'm glad that they're continuing to do stuff like this. Yoga is something that's been going on at Bonnaroo for years now. Mm-hmm. There's been a number of different organized classes where when you get up early by Bonnaroo standards, which means like 11 a.m., you can go get your yoga in. And actually, I don't know that much about yoga at all, but I did it one year and I felt great the rest of the day.
I remember in 2013, the first year that I went to Bonnaroo, that was one of the few activities, that they've really had. So to go from, literally just having yoga to all of these things that you can do and all these activities, I mean, they've come so far,
Oh, yeah. All right, the next one is a fun and wild one. I just learned about this one today. So this is the Fat Sex Therapist. I am going to probably mispronounce this name, but I'm going to give it a shot. Sonali Rachatoire. They go by they/he, are an award-winning clinical social worker, sex therapist, adjunct lecturer, and grassroots organizer. Based out of Philly, also licensed in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. They are, this is their words, a super fat, queer, bisexual, non-binary therapist and co-owner of Radical Therapy Center, specialized in treating sexual trauma, diet trauma, racial or immigrant trauma, and South Asian family abuse while offering fat-positive sexual health care.
That's cool.
This is what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. There is something for everybody, and I'm so happy that Bonnaroo is bringing in literally all walks of life that can help promote positivity, being yourself. I can't wait to see what somebody like this, the Fat Sex Therapist, has in store.
Right.
It's going to be so cool.
That's cool. So next up, we've got the Bottom Knox. And the Bottom Knox stands out as a multi-use place to foster change and togetherness. They're a nonprofit community center and a Black affirming bookshop. They are based out of Knoxville. And they're really building a community, celebrating culture, and really just engaging creativity of Black people in Knoxville.
Yeah, this is from their website. I'm really excited to see them there, especially the bookshop. I hope they bring
Right,
something
that's
like
cool,
that.
yeah.
We saw a library at Burning Man last year. Maybe this is going to
Yeah,
be
they had
something
a
similar to
whole
that.
library.
All right, next up is the Shadow Wagon. I couldn't find much on them, but I know this. It is a puppet show.
Cool.
I couldn't find any pictures of the puppets, but I'm excited to see what this
That's
is going to
cool.
be. Yeah. All right, this next one is interesting. Tell us about this one.
All right, the Skin Deep, and it says, our journey began with a simple premise to film authentic and emotional conversations between two people as they asked intimate questions and invited viewers into their emotional space.
So this one and the next one that we're going to talk about in just a moment kind of reminded me of Humans of New York. You remember that Instagram and Facebook page?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen much out of them lately. I hope they're still doing that project.
I don't know. It kind of sounds like that NPR story bus.
Yeah,
that would come around.
StoryCorps? Was it StoryCorps?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Would you do that? Would me and you go into that?
Sure, yeah.
They might ask some really deep stuff.
I don't know.
Hey, I'm at Rue. I'm down for whatever. All right, this next one. Tell us about the Strangers Project.
Okay, the Strangers Project is a celebration of the stories we're surrounded with every day, both from strangers we share our space with and our own stories we carry. So it's really about a connection within ourselves and with the people around us and greater than ourselves. It says we create spaces where people can discover stories and if they choose, share their own. None of the stories in the project are submitted online or through the mail. Each is from a passerby they met that took a moment to share with them. So the stories come from all ages, all walks of life. And it says they share the stories from the collection daily and continue to collect new stories across the country.
So, yeah, we're big on that one because in theory, this podcast is about storytelling.
Right. And I noticed when I'm reading this, everything says I, so it must be ran by one person.
Yeah,
That's
I think
cool.
so.
Yeah.
So interested to learn more about that. This next one is super interesting, and I implore everybody to do some research on this one. So there is an org called This Must Be the Place, and a lot of people read that, and I think they thought about the old Talking Heads song. But this is interesting. I looked them up, and this is what they say about themselves. We travel the country to music and art festivals, handing out thousands of doses of free Naxosone. How do you say it?
No, naloxone.
Naloxone. It is something to fight against the fentanyl epidemic. So a lot of people have been imploring Rue for about 5 years now to bring an org like Dance Safe. So maybe they can't do that because of various weird Tennessee laws, but it sounds like this is almost just as good. So again, Google them and read up about that. I think that is a really good move for Bonnaroo to bring something like that in.
Exactly.
Yeah, this next one has a fun name.
All right, the next one is Twink Trash.
I love the name.
And Twink Trash is a viral drag artist.
Yeah, I looked them up and they're all over like TikTok and stuff like that.
Yes, I'm pretty sure I've seen Twink Trash on TikTok.
Yeah, like go look up that page. You're going to be entertained. I can't wait to host them at Rue. All right, next one is the Virtual Crew of Vaporware. Another name I love.
Vaporwave.
Vaporwaves. Sorry, I misspelled that. Vaporwave. Virtual Crew of Vaporwave. They're out of New Orleans, so great to have another New Orleans connection with Bonnaroo. They are a secretive association of avant-garde artists who produce high-tech video compositions.
Cool.
So they have done some almost Banksy-like stuff down in New Orleans for Mardi Gras, so I'm excited to see what they're going to do. Charlotte, take us to the last one we got listed there.
The last one is Wade and Lita. They are artists out of Brooklyn that looks like they'll be doing a giant installation in one of the plazas.
Yeah, so last year they did the art around the barn that is right in front of the Grove. They had that listed on their website, so it looks like they'll be doing something like that again this year.
Cool.
And they have some super interesting stuff.
That's awesome.
I'm excited to see what they're going to bring this year. So that is most of it for the art and experience lineup. And I've really got to brag on Rue. They made this diverse AF this year.
Right?
There is a little bit of everything that complements the crowd at Bonnaroo so well. And I think especially having a lot of LGBT affirming stuff and stuff from all over the place is really in tune with the crowd right now.
Exactly.
Especially in light of other things happening in Tennessee. So I'm so excited to see all this stuff. Guys, especially new people that are coming to Rue for the first time, it is everywhere. It is out in the campgrounds, not just in Rue. So go check out as many of these as you can. It's a little bit of a Disney World situation where it's impossible to see everything. But if you can make a detour to go past a plaza or some experience or installation, please do it. There's no telling what you're going to find.
Oh, I absolutely agree. It's very easy to miss the activities at the different plazas, but just, look it up. And if there's one you're interested in, it's definitely worth going to.
Yeah, I would actually like set some time aside to just wander around, especially if Jam Tracks is running well. Go to your plaza for sure. There's going to be something cool at the plaza nearest you. But if you've got friends across the campgrounds or you're able to take a ride on Jam Tracks and you got a couple hours to spare, just point yourself in a direction and see where adventure takes you. I kind of did that at Okeechobee this past year, and that worked out really well for me. We had to do that at Burning Man. And I love that Bonnaroo has that. So again, try not to overschedule yourself. Just give yourself a couple of hours to just see where the ride is going to take you.
Exactly.
All right, Charlotte, I understand you got a pick of the week for us.
I do have a pick of the week.
Go for it.
So I have been listening to a lot of Ezra Furman lately. And Ezra is a transgender artist who did ask Bonnaroo a while back, hey, am I going to be able to come to Tennessee?
Oh, yeah.
After the whole drag ban and all that stuff. Well, Ezra is kind of very indie, has a very indie sound, and kind of Americana, but not quite Americana. So kind of right there towing the line.
Kind of like a singer-songwriter vibe.
Right.
We had a song come up yesterday on a playlist.
Yeah. So kind of like right there towing the line at Americana. So user Mr. Turntable on Reddit actually created a new Venn diagram, a 2.0 of his
that was
Venn
amazing.
diagram. Yes, and he has included all of the new additions to the Outeroo lineup. So definitely check that out if you haven't seen that. It's posted on Reddit. Actually, sticking it on Reddit. So definitely look at that if you haven't already.
Oh, something else that I wanted to mention while we were talking about Ezra and kind of that whole topic. There were a couple of people that asked our advice about people coming from out of state traveling to Roo who had concerns about kind of the recent anti-LGBT legislation, right?
Right.
So I did want to take more time in the future to talk about that. But just for now, I did want to tell people, like, don't worry too much, but my advice as somebody who lives in this area is if you feel concerned, try to avoid stops in rural areas. I really don't think that anything terrible is going to happen, but as long as you plan your stops in like larger cities that are a little bit more progressive, you're going to be just fine. I do want to talk more about this in the future, but I did want to reassure all of you that this may affect that. It may take a little planning, but you shouldn't be concerned. We're going to talk more about that in a later episode, but if y'all have any specific questions, feel free to reach out to me and Sharla privately. We will be more than happy to help you.
Exactly.
And I think we'll dedicate some more time on a future podcast to
Right.
that kind of topic. All right. There is a pick that I have for this week. This came up on a playlist for us. Was it today, actually? I'm starting to listen more to the Bonnaroo 23 lineup playlist.
It was either today or yesterday.
I came across this artist that I hadn't heard a lot of already. It is Jupiter and Aquas. And I listened to about half of a track, and I was like, oh, wait, I think I found Bonnaroo's other world music pick for this year. Go listen to them. It is a banger. I love having that world music vibe at Bonnaroo. I wish they would book a few more, but this is a great addition. Go check them out. I think that's going to be a fun show.
I was in the car when they came on, and I completely agree.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Charlotte stopped what she was doing and like listened in, and she's like,
Right.
oh, man, that's a banger.
Okay, I guess that's about it for this week.
Yeah, another short episode. I really wanted to dig into the art and experiences lineup. We got some other fun stuff coming in the future. I think we're still going to have the Works Fun on. We're going to have Kelsey from there. I think we're going to do the All Lady episode.
We will have an all-lady episode.
Some other fun stuff. I think next week, hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to be able to do an episode finally detailing all of our schedule. Because I'm working with Bonnaroo this coming week to finalize a lot of that stuff. We have already put out the events that we're going to be having, but we haven't been able to confirm with Bonnaroo the times just yet. So I think I'm going to be able to confirm a lot of the logistics and those times this coming week. So after I've got everything set in stone, we can talk in much more detail about our Tuesday and Wednesday events. I'm so excited for that. Tuesday's going to be fun, but Wednesday is going to be something I've been working on years and years and years for. Are you excited, Charles?
Oh, I completely agree.
So tune in next week for that. And again, please submit to our Bonnaroo ticket giveaway. So again, that is where you submit a voice clip telling us about how you created community or lifelong friends from Bonnaroo. What's the Gmail address again?
TheRealRooBus @gmail.com.
Yes, so get us something together, send it to us by the end of the month, and we'll see who we can give those tickets away to. So until next week, get out there and radiate positivity. We'll see you guys soon.
Bye.